Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Expert to Authority Show. My name is Simone Vincenzi, and I am your host. And this is the show for coaches, speakers, and trainers who want to grow their businesses while making an impact in the world. And today I have an incredible guest, which is the winner of the GTEx Influencer Award 2024. And I want to introduce our guest, and he helps executive and their leadership team accelerate and successfully transition in new role. He's the author of Mastering Executive Transition, which is the definitive guide and #1 new release and international best-selling book. He's a thought leader in executive transition and ranked #1 coach globally by CEO Today for the third year running. Welcome, Navid Nazemian. Good to see you.
Hey Simone, super excited to be part of this and yeah, looking forward to our conversation.
All right. So, you won GTEx Influencer of the Year 2024. You're no new to winning awards because between SEO Today and all the other awards that you won, then you're very well. You got a lot of awards. So the question that I have for you, first of all, to get started in this conversation, is to explore what does it really take to be one of the most influential people in your field. But before we go there, why don't you just talk a bit more about you and your journey and what got you to this point?
Sure, sure. First off, allow me by saying that when you say you're one of the most influential people, I'm not sure my own wife would agree to that, but that's a different story. So yes, I think, if I wanted to go back and think about how I got to where I got to, I really have been focusing on the same thing. I just didn't know that I was doing that. So when I was starting to coach about 10 years ago, and I was a full-time HR executive, I was working for some of the most wonderful companies on the planet, always in the HR function. I realized that more and more clients are attracted to come and do the work with me who want to go through some career transition of some kind. And so that somehow became my niche, although I never, had a strategic foresight to say, oh, this is the most profitable niche in the coaching industry. I'm going to go and claim that space and do all those things. And so and at the time I was starting to think about writing a book, I had the idea to write about something leadership slash coaching related. I really didn't know what is the actual topic I would like to write about. It sort of all, became one. And then I knew, okay, that's my topic. This is what I would love to write about. And this is kind of the space I'm going to claim because quite frankly, I couldn't tell you anyone else who had, claimed this space for themselves. So that's, fast forward now 10 years into the future and coming to today. And quite honestly, I had no idea that I had been entered into the GTEx Award. I won another one this week, the C-Suite Insider something award. I had no idea I had been entered into that award. So there's something about taking something that you feel deeply passionate about, and at the same time, you are decently competent in it, and just doing that and not be distracted by the latest thing that everyone else is suggesting you do, or oh, this is AI is now the big topic everywhere. Like I know a lot of coaches who really aren't very good with the devices, but somehow they are now into the AI space as well. So it really is something to bear in mind, something you feel passionate about, something you could give your whole self to it. And if you keep at it, it will eventually, materialize in some of these awards and I guess some of the recognition in the same space.
Did you have any wobble in this journey of changing focus? Because sticking on a topic for 10 years is not easy for a lot of people, in particular if they are creative or if they see, as you mentioned, different opportunities. How about for your journey? Do you have any wobble, or you knew it was that and you just kept going with it without going astray?
Sure. I guess I was lucky in a way because the first 7 years I did this as a coach, my executive, paycheck more than paid for the wife, the life, and the mortgage and everything else. So I never really had to hit a certain target or create this amount of money to be able to pay for the cost of living. And so that meant that I was always very selective with who I take on, what topic is it that I feel I can add value to that client. And of course, given that I had this limitation of not being able to coach more than two or three individuals at the time, I also set my rates quite highly just because I knew, I was an HR director. I knew what is the going rate in the market at the time in Germany and in the UK. So I deliberately set my rates much higher than I would have if my life, depended on it. And so by doing that, what I realized is that whatever number you have in your mind is a imaginary thing in your own head. I mean, I was asked to join, Marshall Goldsmith and the 100 Coaches Agency, and when I described to the team what I do and how much I charge for it, the response that I got is, "We can't work with you based on those fees." And I thought, oh my goodness, I'm already too expensive for Marshall. And as it turns out, no, I mean, he charges four times what I charge, and I'm already the top charging coach in the UK and the UAE. So, it's all relative, as we say in German. And it really is coming down to the value that you deliver to the leader and the organization. And that's all that matters. All this noise in your head, like, oh, I'm too expensive, or I'm too cheap, or I'm too this, really doesn't matter. As long as you keep at it and have a laser sharp focus on where you add the most value and which kind of clients would benefit from doing the work with you.
And once you have this focus, so now you found the things, and I love the way you broke it down is okay, what's your focus, and in particular where you can add the most value, because skills, the skills that you have, they have different value in different context. So you could apply the skill that you have to work with people that are going through entry job levels.
Mhm.
Is not paid nowhere near as much as executive transition. We can also argue that some of the skills they have crossover and they can be the same. So the market that you choose to work with makes a huge difference. But now let's switch the conversation to the marketing and selling part, and in particular branding, because one of the things that you've been brilliant at, knowing you now for a while, is to see how you market yourself and how you brand yourself. In particular, LinkedIn is your primary platform. So, is there any particular principle that helped you, in particular, create this incredible engaged audience following, but also this position that you have in the coaching space?
Sure. Again, I wish I was that strategically foresighted and I went out 10 years ago, said, this is my 10-year roadmap. I want to become a blue badge holder on LinkedIn next to Rishi Sunak, Bill Gates, and Barack Obama, and all those very famous people. The reality is, I just kept doing what I was good at doing, right? And to give you two concrete examples. So when I jumped ship from Vodafone, which was my last company that I worked at as an executive, I had 7,000 followers. That was only what, 2.5 years ago. And the followership has organically grown to 23,000. All this time, I had people approaching me to say, oh, we can grow your following to 1 million and give us this much and so on. I just didn't feel that that would be worthwhile for me to explore because I'd rather have 23,000 executive followers than having a gazillion followers, of which only 5% are the actual target audience. So that's the first thing. So you have to be super selective in terms of how you grow your followership. The second thing that I started doing, and I've been doing that for less than 2 years now, I've started to keep a cadence of posting on LinkedIn. And believe it or not, I mean, some people meet me at events and say, oh my goodness, you're all over LinkedIn. I'm like, well, I actually do one post a week. And they almost, can't believe it because when you are that regular and that frequently contribute to the platform, the algorithm will pick that up and it will share it with not just your direct followership, but with a lot more people. And so the fact that I have this kind of switch watch attitude once a week at 9 a.m. Dubai time is the newsletter that goes out, and at 12 p.m. Dubai time is the LinkedIn post that I pre-schedule to go out. What I do in that post is 90% of the first part of that post on LinkedIn is value, value, value. I have a high consumption level. I read a lot of leadership papers, white paper studies, and so on. And I condense that into what I call thought leadership for my audience. And just by doing that, I give value to them. And of course, towards the far end of that article, I say, and by the way, I also happen to be, an executive coach that works with these kind of leaders. And so I make the connection to the article, but really, if people wanted to ignore that, they could easily do that because they've already gotten the value. And I took the same principle with my newsletter, and it's what, 25 editions old, so it's roughly 6 months old by now. It has 9,000 executive subscribers. And again, it's got a very, very small opt-out ratio and a high opening rate, 29% it is, which tells me that, I mean, those executives, I used to be one of those. They get 50 of these newsletters into their inbox any given month. And if they choose, one out of three chooses to read mine, that tells me that I'm on the right path. So forget all the noise, forget all these, tricks and you get rich overnight and all that nonsense. Just keep doing what you are gifted to do, and everything else will fall into the right place.
Yeah, it's like pick your lane, stay on your lane, and
Yeah.
then things will happen if you stay that focus. So before we wrap up, I would love to see if there is anything that we missed out, because in terms of what helped you grow your influence, as we are talking about becoming an influencer in your space here, which was why you won the award, right? Because the level of influence that you have in executive transition coaching specifically, but in executive coaching, if you're looking at the umbrella, then you're one of the top in the industry. Is there anything other than picking your lane, consistency, that you missed out that other people should know?
Yes, I think go where your audience is, right? I mean, I give you two examples. I was on a plane flying to Mumbai to collect another one of those awards. And I happened to meet a fellow coach who was also going to the same event. And so she spoke to me on the plane and said, "Oh, I've, seen you at other events and so on. I see you at the ICF event. And I'm super excited. I'm working on my website." And I'm like, "Oh, wow, that sounds interesting. Do you happen to have it ready so I can take a look at it?" And she said, "No, I've been working on it for a year now with an agency. I've spent $12,000 and it's not quite ready yet. But when it's ready, I'm going to send you the link." And I thought to myself, I have been in this business for 10 years. I have never had a website. I actually never needed a website, nor do I know anyone who's a buyer of coaching services who will search for the coaches on their own unique websites. So again, it's one of those things. You can have a fancy website, you can have beautiful images of yourself and all the other things on it. But if your audience is not looking you up on your own website, you might as well ignore that. And so again, my kind of recommendation to other coaches is, be where your audience will find you. And where I am at are events where executives are in attendance. As an example, I'm flying to Baku in 2 weeks from now, and I will be speaking at the CEO forum where 500 CEOs will be in the room. I much rather go to that event rather than to go to the well-being HR, whatever event. And yes, I have a passion for HR. I find that topic of interest, but it's unlikely that the audience that's going to be in the room will want to connect with me also on the back end of the event. So that's the other angle. So don't just go with, "Oh, everyone needs our website. I need our website. Everyone is on Instagram. I need to be on Instagram. Everyone is on Facebook. I need to be on Facebook." Just pick the platform that you deem to be valuable to you and to your audience. For me, it's LinkedIn. It's very easy. And just keep going at it, and it will do incredible things for you.
Yeah, I love that. In particular, because there are a lot of people, particularly in the coaching space, that they will go to a lot of events or a lot of networking events, and they say going to events doesn't work. But I go to events that are full of their peers or competitors. And so now, like, you cannot find clients in a room full of your competitors or full of peers. And being strategic about where you're spending your time, whether it's online or offline, going where your ideal clients are is what will make the entire difference, because someone is going to be way more likely to hire you, as you said, if they see you speak on a stage, which is relevant, or meet you there in person, rather than, or maybe read something like a great piece of content online, rather than having this fancy website. So thank you for the
Yeah.
suggestion. And do you have something else you want to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to
Okay.
follow up and build on what you just said, which is, again, I have started, this is now 2.5 years ago when I came to Dubai and set myself up as a coach. I started to refer requests and clients that came my way to fellow coaches because, again, the topic that they wanted to get support with wasn't quite my topic. Now, some of them were a bit positively surprised and came to me and said, "Oh, what is the referral fee? Like, how much can I pay you?" And I'm like, I'm not expecting anything in return because, it's like if I want to go to a specialist doctor and someone recommends a good one to me, I wouldn't necessarily want to pay them for that. I'm just happy for the referral. And guess what? Like a year after I started referring all these clients to other coaches, I now get those referrals myself, which is when they know it's a transition topic and it's someone at the senior level, they know that there's probably one guy around who can do this well. And that's also why I keep getting referrals. So again, it's established in the industry, it's the 20%. I know all of that. And yet I find that it actually works very well just based on the mindset of abundance and just if something is not meant to be for you, you might as well give it away to someone else.
Yeah, what goes around comes around. What goes
Yes.
around comes around. I love it. All right, Navid, to wrap up, I know you have a certification to certify to certify transition coaches. So why don't you talk about a bit more the certification? Where are some of the next rounds, and how can people be part of it as well if they want to be certified in it?
Sure. So it's the same idea I had with my book. When I published my book, there wasn't a single book on the market that talked about how, at the top of the house, as an executive leader, you can onboard and transition most successfully, which is intriguing because it's a very standard thing that happens all the time. And so the same thing happened to me. I was on a call with 79 other coaches. There were the 80 of us. And we were asked to coach 250 leaders of one of the global energy giants. And they were all going through a transition. And so on the alignment call with the fellow coaches, I did dare to ask the question, what framework or methodology are we going to apply? And it was a Zoom call, one of these where you got 80 tiles, right? And everyone looked at each other like, what are we doing? And I thought to myself, this can't be. I mean, surely there is a training program for coaches that want to go down and deepen their expertise in the transition space as a coach. And so it happens to be that is not the case. Same with the book. And so this is why I actually sat down with a learning instruction designer lady who's based in Dubai and created the Certified Transition Coach, which is not a course where people come online and learn how to coach, but the prerequisite, the entry level requirement to be part of the program is to be a coach. And what I then do over the course of 6 months, I teach them everything they need to know in order to become the most skilled transition coach. And that's all there is about the program.
Yeah, it's a powerful certification, and in particular, then you understand by going through this certification. Actually, as you mentioned, you have a model that you can use, and in a niche which is highly profitable and underserved. I know there is one of the statistics that you share in your webinar about how many transition coaches there are on the ICF website. I think we can drop that to give people like this light
Yes,
bulb moment.
yes. Yeah, believe it or not, the number was 99 out of 58,000. This was 6 months ago, 4 months ago. And I did the same search 2 weeks ago ahead of the webinar, and the number had gone up by one. So there are 100 coaches based on a total database of coaches, of accredited coaches with the International Coaching Federation of 62,000. So clearly, transition coaching is one of the most sought after modalities of coaching. And yet there is nowhere near enough coaches serving that market and that demand, which is why I'm having such a run, and all the transition coaches that are part of the program are having a run. And just to also mention that Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy is the first global client that has decided that any of the coaches that they want to bring in to work with those executives in transition must be a certified transition coach. And that's just the beginning. And so I could really see if a year or so down the line, if that partnership really proves valuable to them, it will be a no-brainer to approach other companies to say, hey, what are you guys doing for your executives in transition?
Yeah, exactly. So if anyone here right now, you're thinking, "Ooh, this is interesting," then check the link in the show notes. I put the link of the Certified Transition Coaching Program. They are in the show notes. Check it out because if you are in that space and you have those skills, then it is an incredible opportunity, and right now is the right time. In particular, is one of the few niches in the coaching industry, and I can say from my perspective, as we work with the coaches in every different industry, like the market is saturated, but there are these few niches that they have this run, and there is this great opportunity. So check it out. I can highly vouch for the program. So make sure you check it out in the show notes. Is the Certified Transition Coaching Program. Navid, thanks again for the interview. Congratulations again for the Influencer of the Year, GTEx Influencer of the Year 2024 award. And for everyone who is watching, listening, thanks again. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. And until next time, remember that together we grow exponentially. Ciao.